Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Allison Turner. I didn't get to live stream last week, and I'm actually up in Indianapolis, Indiana today, live streaming from here. I'm actually working remotely for a couple of weeks, and I wanted to jump on today and talk about how, when you start a business, creating that business your way. One of the things I often coach on when I work with startup companies is you have to have personal and professional goals when you start this business. You can't just focus on the professional side. You can't just focus on the business. You can't just focus on, what it is you're doing from a business standpoint, because ultimately you want this business to meld with your personal goals as well. One of my personal goals has always been to travel more, has always been to see different parts of the country, to live in different parts of the country. And as many of you know, I live in Florida and it's really hot in Florida right now. So that's been one of the biggest things for me is how do I create my business where I can work from anywhere? And at this point, I really can work from anywhere. And I drove up to the Midwest last week to see the Indianapolis 500, which was on Sunday. And I'm going to stay up here until mid-June. I'll be in Indianapolis some of the time. I'll be in Chicago some of the time and go back in mid-June after I have another event in Indianapolis, June 15th, I want to say. So it's really about how do you create your business your way? And that's always been the forefront for me is how do I create a business where I don't have to be locked down to one location? If I wanted to have a second home, then I could have the second home. If I wanted to just travel and work from somewhere else, I could do that. Now, I do like to work with instead of just working on a laptop, I do like to work with a monitor. So since I drove up here, I was able to bring my monitor, which is in front of me here. So that's great. But a couple of reasons why you create personal and professional goals when you start a business is really to make sure you're aligning both your personal life and your professional life. If you're married, if you have kids, if all those pieces have to align in the business. I mean, too often we hear about divorces happening and it's really because one of the spouses is working too many hours and they don't ever see each other. So you have to align, know what your personal and professional goals are. And if if your personal goals is to make this business the best success, that's fine. But then maybe relationships aren't for you. But that's my own personal opinion. But long-term success, when you start a business, you have, you think all your focus should be on the business, which is true to some extent. But again, you have to set up those personal goals so you have that long-term motivation, because businesses are always going to be that up and down, up and down. They're always going to have that up and down. So you have to know what's going to motivate me down the road. So maybe it's a brand new business and it's something different and it's exciting and whatnot, but what's the long-term motivation at year 5, at year 10? Because remember, most businesses don't make it that far and don't make it that long. So what's the long-term satisfaction? And then having that balanced life, because ultimately when you own a business, there's always going to be times in the business where you have to put, 80% over here and maybe 20% in your personal side. But you don't want it to be that way all the time. You can't have it that way all the time. You'll drive yourself nuts. You have to have the fun, the creativity, the travel, whatever it is for you, the marriage, the kids, whatever your personal goals are, you have to have that. So think about that. Even if you're in your 20s starting a business, think about, hey, what are my long-term goals? So maybe you're single, maybe you don't have any kids, but if those are part of your goals, you want to create that business with that in mind, because ultimately you can do that. We create the business, not the business creates itself. So we have complete control on what that is. So keep that in mind when you're starting a business, and then obviously your personal goals are always going to impact stakeholders too. So say you have employees, you have people that have invested in your company, you have a business partner. Obviously, knowing what your personal goals are can impact those stakeholders too. So if you want to go on vacation, then you have to have like really good people in in your team, on your team, to be able to do that easily, right? You have to hire correctly. You have to, they need to know and be empowered to control your company and to be the best in your company. So that's all get in, that your personal goals again impact the professional goals. So those two go hand in hand. And then just being able to adapt, because ultimately sometimes you start a business and maybe you are single, if that's an easy one. Maybe you're single, or maybe you have kids at that point. And then all of a sudden things change in your, 5 years later, if you were single, maybe you got married, and now all of a sudden it's a different scenario than it was before. So knowing that you can always adapt your personal goals and your professional goals, because remember, when you, it's never a one size fits all. It's never, okay, here's my personal and professional goals, and this is the way it's going to be for the next 20 years. No, it's, hey, let me start with, these are my personal goals right now, and these are my professional goals right now, and then reevaluate every year. Reevaluate, especially at bigger marks like 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, and really adjust and adapt where it needs to adapt. Because again, a business can adapt as long as you're willing to make those changes. So that's what I wanted to jump on today, because I am up in Indianapolis. I'm enjoying the cooler weather. It was 55 this morning, so a little too cool for me, but much better than it being 80 something at 5 or 6 in the morning and 95 or 100 during the day. So I'm enjoying the cooler weather for now. And that's why I wanted to talk about this today. And really, when you start a business or when you own a business, make sure your personal and professional goals are both in there. You need to, if you're the sole owner, make sure you know what those goals are, and make sure you know what both your personal and professional goals are, so you can then create the business you want to have and you want to grow with. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.